Alrighty, YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. So the Washington Commanders have given veteran defensive tackle Jonathan Allen permission to seek a trade. He's got 1 year remaining on his deal and was informed by the franchise today that he has permission to seek a trade. So this is probably an indicator that the Commanders are probably going to come to him about a potential pay cut. And they're probably giving him the benefit of the doubt and saying, look, we're likely going to ask you to take a pay cut. We're giving you permission to seek a trade. If you're not interested in that pay cut, we'll give you an opportunity to go to another team and secure another deal. Now that rings the question. The 49ers have a massive need at defensive line. They need edge rushers. They need interior defensive linemen. And now the question will be brought up, should the 49ers explore a trade for Jonathan Allen, bring him in, get some interior help and, get a guy that's a veteran guy and that's been a decently productive player throughout his career to beef up that defensive tackle position. So, number one, Jonathan Allen has a pretty long injury history. He suffered a torn pec last season in a game against the Eagles, I believe, if I can remember right. Either way, he suffered a torn pec last year with the Commanders. He did return. To action when they went into the playoffs on that 3-game playoff run that they had. So he was able to come back, kind of play through some of that injury, and be available for the Commanders in the playoff, or in the playoffs. So, he was their first round pick in 2017. He has a $15.5 million base salary for the 2025 season. And that is not a guaranteed salary. So I'm sure he probably wants to secure more guaranteed money, if I had to guess. But in 2021, he signed a 4-year contract extension with the Commanders worth $72 million. And he followed that up with 2 consecutive Pro Bowl nods. So he got to the Pro Bowl 2 consecutive years, so 2022 and 23. And then again, he missed half of the year last year with the torn pec, but in 8 games, he had 3 sacks, and he played in all 3 of Washington's postseason games. So, I think the biggest thing, like in 2023, the Commanders extended Daron Payne on a $90 million contract extension. And then last year in the draft, they selected Johnny Newton in the 2nd round. So they've kind of been preparing for the possibility of, life without Jonathan Allen. He does have the 3rd highest cap number on the Commanders team in 2025. It's at $22.4 million. And a trade or an outright release would free up nearly $17 million in cap space for the Commanders. The Commanders, I believe, are one of the teams that have majority or one of the biggest cap number in the entire NFL going into 2025. They have a lot of cap space, and obviously freeing up $17 million in cap space by trading him or releasing him would even boost that number even more. So multiple teams have reportedly fielded calls related to Jonathan Allen in recent days, and conversations are expected to continue this week here in Indianapolis at the NFL Scouting Combine, which typically the Combine is actually like one of the times where a lot of these coaches and executives kind of get together, and it's really like the first start of trade talks for the next season. It typically happens at the NFL Combine. So I'm sure Jonathan Allen's going to be a name that's brought up a lot in the Combine about a potential trade. So he's coming off of a torn pec. He did return for the playoffs for the Washington Commanders. I don't kn I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a guy that would come in and make this defensive line better, but I feel like he's not been the most consistent defensive lineman, in the NFL. I mean, he's definitely been one of the top defensive tackles over the last few years, obviously before he tore his pec, but this isn't a guy that, like, I would love the 49ers to get. It's not like a wow move if you go out and trade for him. He's due 15.5 million in 2025. I would like to think that if a team trades for him, he's going to want a restructured deal with more guaranteed money because again, that 15.5 million of his base salary that he's due in 2025 is not guaranteed. And he's 30 years old. He missed 9 games, in 2024 with that torn pec. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm willing to do this. Number one, I don't think his trade value. I don't think if there's a team out there that wants to trade for him is going to have to give up a lot. I don't think the compensation in return for Jonathan Allen is probably any more than like a 5th or a 4th round pick. But he's getting older. He's got a long injury history. He's not been the most consistent player. He's struggled at times. I don't necessarily think that he's lived up to the hype that he should have lived up to as a first round pick. I mean, he gets pressures and, he does some good things. He's done some good things with the Commanders, but I think I would take a pass on this, man. I would rather go get somebody younger and more cheaper. A guy like Solomon Thomas, he may not be as good as a Jonathan Allen, but I don't think the talent's too far off, and I think he would come at a much cheaper cost than a guy like Jonathan Allen would. So while this does seem like a 49ers move to trade for a guy like Jonathan Allen, I don't think they should do it. I think they should just we have the deepest defensive line class that I can remember coming out in the 2025 draft class. You can find a guy like Jonathan Allen with a late round pick or in later rounds, mid rounds, that could come in and possibly be just the same amount of a difference maker that Jonathan Allen would be, and he would be younger and he'd be on a rookie deal. So you can find guys like that, like Jonathan Allen in this draft class. There's also some guys out in free agency like Solomon Thomas that could come in and be just as good at a much cheaper cost. So I don't know about Jonathan Allen personally. I would probably pass on a trade for Jonathan Allen. I think there will be suitors out there for Jonathan Allen. I'm sure the 49ers will probably, at least do their due diligence on a trade for Jonathan Allen, but I don't think this is a move that the 49ers have to make and need to make. And again, he's probably going to come at a cheap, he's probably not going to go for more than like a 5th or a 4th round pick. But I don't know. I'm more of a fan of getting younger on the defensive line, finding guys in the mid to later rounds of the draft that can come in and make, about the same amount of impact as Jonathan Allen would make. So I would say pass on this. I just don't. I'm not too big of a fan. I've never really been a massive fan of Jonathan Allen. Love Daron Payne. I mean, if this is Daron Payne, I would probably want the 49ers to go out and trade for him. But yeah, he's 30 years old, has a long injury history. I don't know. I mean, I think the 49ers would almost be better off just keeping Javon Hargrave because that's kind of what Javon Hargrave, I mean, this would be a similar move that the 49ers would make when they got Javon Hargrave. Obviously, Javon Hargrave was a free agent, but he was older in his career, and we've seen kind of what happened with Javon Hargrave. He didn't really live up to the hype of his contract. I believe he also tore his pec or tore his tricep last year and was out. So the Niners need to get younger at D-tackle, and they can do that in the draft. So I would say pass on a trade for Commanders defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Would you guys trade for him? Again, I don't think his price tag's too high in a trade, but I would elect to get younger and cheaper, and you can do that in the draft, and you can also do it in free agency. So I would, and you're saving a pick by not trading for Jonathan Allen, and that pick could potentially turn in to a defensive tackle that's younger, that's cheaper, and that could make just the same amount of impact as Jonathan Allen would. So let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Let me know if you guys would elect to trade for Jonathan Allen or not. With that being said, as always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.